Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. Originally, I was going to do a lap guide with a Peugeot VGT, but it just got a 2% nerf to its power last night, so that lap guide is not up to date. But if you really need to see its lap guide anyways before it got the nerf, I'll have a link in the card up above and the description down below to its lap guide when this combination was originally a daily race, since the settings are very similar. But for today's video, we'll just skip on over to the strategies, since that is still up to date even after the update dropped last night. So for the qualifying strategy, you have 5 minutes to try to get a good qualifying time. The tire wear is pretty low at ×5, so you don't have to worry about trying to take care of your tires on your outlap. You can pretty much just go out there and just try to get your best times. However, slipstream is going to play a big role in trying to get a good qualifying time, so just make sure that you get within 1.5 seconds behind someone. Don't get too close to them so you don't end up hurting your own qualifying time by being too close to the car ahead of you. So if you can stay within 1 to 1.2 seconds behind someone, you'll be able to benefit from the slipstream, and of course you won't be too close to the car ahead of you, but that slipstream will help shave off a couple tenths of a second, which can possibly help you start even higher than other cars around you. So with the 5-minute qualifying session, you obviously get one outlap, and then you'll have 2 chances to try to get your best qualifying times. Don't forget that this race is a grid start, so you want to bring the traction control down to 1, and then shortly after the race starts, you can bring it to whatever you originally had the traction control at. So one thing to note about this car, the Ferrari 458 Italia, is that this car launches really well out of the starting line, so this will give you an advantage over those who start in the Peugeot. And as I mentioned, the Peugeot VGT has a really bad time getting out of the starting line. It takes about a million years for it to go fast out of the starting line, and as you see here, we're just struggling just to try to get ourselves up to speed, and the 458 Italia is just going to go ahead and overtake at least 3 of us who are in the Peugeot. So for the race strategy, there are 2 ways to go about this race. The first way is to try to fuel save, but not fuel save like crazy, so you'll have to refuel. And the second way is to fuel save like crazy, adjust the fuel mapping, and try to go for the no stop. If you go for the no stop, you want to adjust the fuel mapping as you go through most of the turns. So I'm going to leave this clip up of me doing it in the 458 Italia, just so you can get an idea of where I adjust the fuel mapping. So basically, how you want to adjust the fuel mapping is that when you're going to brake soon for a turn, you want to bring the fuel map all the way to 6. And then when you're exiting a turn, you can bring it up all the way to 1. And for the Ferrari 458 Italia, you want to shift when the shift bar on the bottom of the screen is 25% full or less. So even without the slipstream, it is very possible to no stop this race in the 458 Italia, but unless if you're in first place or in the very front of the pack of cars that you are in, you want to try to get the slipstream from someone, just so you can save a bit more fuel and feel a bit more comfortable and not worry about running out of fuel. So in my personal opinion, the 458 Italia is one of the better cars to try to do the no stop with. There are other cars that can no stop this race, like the Volkswagen Beetle and the new Mazda RX Vision GT3 concept. So with the Beetle, you can no stop it, but you have to shift before the shift bar on the bottom of the screen even starts to fill up. For the fuel mapping, you basically do the same thing that I'm doing in this clip. Adjust the fuel map to 6 when you're about to enter a turn, then bring it back to 1 when you're exiting a turn. However, the pace does feel a little bit slower, but it is more stable than the 458 Italia, so that is something that you can think about. And with the Mazda, first of all, it doesn't do that great when it comes out of the starting line. It's a bit similar to that of the Peugeot VGT, And while it can no stop, it can barely do it, and it's also going to be a bit slower since you're not really making the most out of it, because you have to short shift when the shift bar on the bottom of the screen is at 25% as well. And once again, the fuel mapping, you do it the same way that I'm doing it with the Ferrari in this video. But still, either way, the pace is not going to be great in the new Mazda, so I would not suggest using that car. So I've talked about all these other cars except for the Peugeot. Why am I not even talking about the Peugeot? So the Peugeot, now that I'm talking about it, that car cannot no stop the race. So if you choose the Peugeot VGT, you are forced to do a one stop, because that car is terrible when it comes to fuel economy. So because of that, you're forced to refuel, and you're going to spend quite a bit of time just hanging out there waiting for the car to fuel up to wherever you need it to be at, and then go out into the race and continue on. And the other bad thing is that in last night's update, as I'm making this video, it got a 2% nerf to its power, so it's going to have an even harder time trying to get away from everyone else. So for those who are in the GTR or the Supra, they're going to be able to keep up a bit more with the Peugeot VGT. So if you can, try to no stop this race, do the fuel mapping and the short shifting strategy that you've been seeing in the video. But if you cannot no stop it, or you just don't want to deal with that sort of shenanigans, and you still want to stick with the Peugeot VGT, and if you can, try to shift when the bar on the bottom of the screen is around 50 to 75% full, and try to make the most use out of the slipstream. But that is pretty much it for this guide. If you still need that lap guide for the Peugeot VGT before it got the 2% power nerf, I'll leave the links to it above in the card up above, or in the description down below. But anyways, that is pretty much it from me. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. So this is Mr. MCA wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.